I think we all can agree it's funny how fast things change in the world of football. More specifically within the championship, the most unpredictable and the most fun league in the world to watch. A month ago, I made a video looking at the top goal scorer prediction from the bookmakers for the 25-26 season. And today we are going to return back to that list and see what has changed, who has infiltrated the top 9 players, see who has risen, see who has fallen, and honestly just have a laugh at what we said and what we predicted. Before we get into the video, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jonah Fatcat. I make EFL Championship and general football content. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and down below let me know what you agree and disagree with. If you're down there, please give it a like. I'll give you a second to do that right now.
Ice in the fucking veins, mate!
Just a little exercise. I like to look through this before and show you why the bookmakers had absolutely no idea what they were talking about, because when you see this list, you're going to be shocked. Let's look at XG from last season. Let's see who still remains in the championship and who is not. Perot at the top, XG leader and the goal leader gone. Signs gone. Isidore promoted. Windass transferred to Wrexham but is currently injured, pulled his hammy, he's going to be out for a little bit. Kobe Bishop is still around. Sargent was honestly not even on our radars for staying, but he is still here. We'll talk about him towards the end of the video. Hint, hint. Bio is gone. Adebayo is gone. Ryan Hardy is gone. Excuse me, Ryan Hardy's not gone. He's on Wrexham. And then Tommy Conway is still here. So a good chunk of that top XG has left the championship, meaning there's absolutely no preface or no analytical data points for the bookies and whoever is creating those odds to go and say, okay, this is our guy for this season. That's who we're going to stick at the top. Before we get into that top 9, we are going to look at the biggest fallers out of the top 9 from just one singular month ago. First name is Leicester City striker Patson Daka. He was sitting at 20-1 going into the season, and now he's dropped all the way down to 66-1. Let's take a look as to why. The explanation speaks for itself here. Bro is not a starter. Everyone expected that he was going to be the starter going into the season after Vardy departed. Instead, they have decided to go with Ong up top, Jordan Ayew. They've got really strong wing presence. And let's see, where does Patson Daka fit in there? Nowhere. Sorry, that's a bit harsh. He is basically coming on as a super sub in these games. Leicester had a bit of a shaky start to the season, but, you know, they're still getting results. They're still getting points. We'll see what happens with their point deduction. He has played, you know, little cameo appearances in all of the championship games this season. So in other words, if you took Patson Daka to win the Golden Boot, it's not looking good, Brad. Now, the next biggest faller before we get into the top 9 is another parachute payment. And listen, I understand the rationale behind it. I'm not saying that the bookies are doing anything wrong here. They have to protect themselves. You would always expect parachute payment teams to come down and absolutely dominate. None of the parachute payment teams have necessarily looked great so far, but it is early. The window just closed, and you know what happens. Teams get picked apart. Ipswich have lost their entire starting 11 except one singular player from the team that got promoted. Southampton is not too far behind. They just sold some of their big assets. So Ross Stewart now is sitting at 66-1 after being 12-1, nearly the top favorite to start the season. I could honestly copy and paste exactly what I said about Daka, but let's just quickly look through it again. He's really not playing. If you saw the video that I made a month ago, my biggest concern for Southampton was the fact that there were just too many mouths to feed. To be honest, quite frankly, a lot of my concerns were because there were too many mouths to feed for other teams that we'll talk about, hint, hint, Blues. And I'll mention it again. I said it a million times in the last video. This isn't me coming out and saying, you know, these aren't good strikers. Just because his odds drop doesn't mean he's not a good striker, doesn't mean he should be benched, he should be shipped out. It's just that it doesn't fit the preface of what we're talking about today. What we're talking about is who is going to lift the Golden Boot at the end of the season. I don't know if they even do that, but whoever is going to theoretically lift the Golden Boot. And it's not looking like it's going to be Ross Stewart. The bookies do not think so either. They just threw both of them down there. They said, F it, let's give him a devil number, because then it'll discourage people from touching him just in case something switches. 10 minutes against Wrexham in that crazy come behind win. 22 against Stoke in a loss where they were chasing goals. That's not a good sign for him. Then he went and he got 72 minutes against Norwich City, where he did get an assist, good for him, and then a 6-minute cameo against Watford. So really, right now, it's not looking too good for him. Playing wise, obviously things change with time. Squad got moved around, players departed, but it's just going to be tough. Damian Downs is another one that they brought in this summer. He also is kind of in that cameo appearance thing, so those two are fighting for that super sub role. Not great for him. So now that we covered that, let's get into the top 9. So coming in at the 9th best odds currently to win the Golden Boot is top of the table, Tommy Conway. So Tommy Conway began the season as a 40-1 to win the Golden Boot. Now he's at 25-1, as we mentioned. He's got 2 goals this season, and it makes sense that he rose so fast because Middlesbrough are off to a really good start. Despite him only having 2 goals, he almost cut his odds in half, and I definitely see a land where if Middlesbrough form continues, he can ascend and he can win that Golden Boot. They kept Hayden Hackney. They just lost Finn Azaz. There are less mouths to feed. He should benefit from that, and the bookies are reflecting that. And you know Middlesbrough fans are very happy right now going into international break, taking 4 of 4. If they continue that form, things are going to be looking up for him. And he also bagged 12 goals last year, so he's well on his way to beating that. The next best odds to win the Golden Boot is Mr. Adam Armstrong of Southampton. Again, we are going to be mentioning Southampton a lot in this video because we know they have a plethora of strikers. Adam Armstrong began the season at 14 to 1. He is now down to 25 to 1. Obviously, it is expected as Southampton haven't had the best start. And really, I think what we're looking for in the Southampton squad is just minutes. You just want to see the guys up top actually getting minutes on the pitch because there's so many mouths to feed. I don't know how many times I can say that. So let's see what he's done this year. 60 minutes against Wrexham, 83 against Ipswich, half a game against Stoke, and 14 minutes against Watford. So again, not playing the full amount of time. He did get 3 starts, which is better than Ross Stewart. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on how Will still looks to line this team up post deadline. Right now, it looks like they've been playing something short of a 3-4-3 with Cameron Archer up the middle. So it's definitely a good sign that he's gotten 3 starts for his chance at the Golden Boot. But also, you do have to remember, it did benefit one man in this list, but it is not benefiting the Southampton boys as Finn as. Yeah, maybe he's not going to score a ton of goals, but it is just another mouth to feed. He won't be up top, but he is an attacking midfielder, so he might snag a couple away. I am personally just going to stay away from all Southampton players, so I may as well just mention now too that the final Southampton striker that is in the top 9, and he was actually the favorite, joint favorite going into the season with a player that we will talk about next, is Cameron Archer. So Cameron Archer has started 1 game out of 4 this season. He does have good minutes in the last 2 matches. He did just slowly ramp up and get into the season, but it is a good sign for him that he scored 2 goals in the last 2 matches. I guarantee you if I did this before that, he probably was far out of the top 9 that we're looking at today. He's putting himself back on the map there. Maybe that's who Will still decides is going to be the guy up top, but we do have to remember they're always going to make subs because they have the depth. A lot of teams don't have depth like that. I know my team, Coventry City, does not have comfortable options to bring on up front. If Haji Wright is not having the best game, yes, you've got Ellis Sims, but you know. Okay, we're going to cross off our final parachute payment team, and then we are going to get into the real big hitters, the real fun stuff, what we're really here for today. So lastly, it's Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town, they kind of got a little bit decimated on the lowest of keys in the transfer window. They lost Amari Hutchinson. They lost Luke Wolfenden. They loaned out Connor Chaplin back to Portsmouth. They loaned out Al Hamadi, not that he was going to get into the squad anyways, down to League One with Luton. And then Nathan Broadhead, as we know, a couple weeks ago, went to Wrexham for a big fee. They could not decline that. I definitely feel for the Ipswich fans, especially Benjamin Bloom, where she just doesn't really recognize the squad anymore, but you know, it's a business at the end of the day. So there's 2 players here we're going to look at. The first one was someone who wasn't even on the list because he wasn't at the club when we did the video a month ago. That is Chuba Akpom. Chuba Akpom is sitting at 25 to 1. So it seems like the bookies are just being cautiously optimistic, giving him, you know, odds where they're saying, give it a shot. We'll see what happens. If he doesn't go out and start scoring, we'll just drop him down to the 66 to 1 purgatory with the rest of the fringe top tier strikers. He had a really good year for Middlesbrough. 28 goals in 40 games, which then earned him to move to Ajax in the Eredivisie, where he still bagged double digit, but then slowly started to fall out of favor, which then led to him getting loaned out to Ligue 1 Lille, and then he decided to make his way back to the Championship. You know, it didn't always look like it was going to be Ipswich Town. It looked like it was going to be Birmingham City because they like to sign everyone. It also looked like there was a chance that he was going to reunite and form that Middlesbrough bromance again, but then Ipswich Town came in because I think they realized, oh shit, we may be losing players. We need to strengthen. Let's get a championship established striker, even though they do already have 1 or 2 other players. And he decided to go with them because, you know, at the time, he probably thought that was the best chance of getting promoted. Not saying it's not now, but if you look at the table, obviously we know Ipswich are off to a slow start for what you would have expected for, you know, this fairy tale parachute payment team. I surely do expect them to turn it around. Obviously, all the parachute teams are going to turn it around. Leicester City are, you know, they're already up at the top, but they'll get a point deduction. But Southampton and Ipswich, they'll turn it around. So 25 to 1. I think that's just kind of wait and see. It's not really something that you want to go all in on unless you got some passion towards Akpom or you're an Ipswich Town fan. Wait and see on that one and just see if, you know, he starts getting those consistent minutes because, you know, things are a little, what's the word? Crooked before that September 1st deadline. And honestly, just one last point, it is kind of funny to think the fact that there's a player who was in the top tier of odds from the bookies to win the Golden Boot when he's played 35 minutes in the championship. That just shows you the state of the Golden Boot battle. And while we're at it, one more, it is George Hurst. Pretty much the lone boy up top now. He was in the list at the beginning of the season. He was, let me check his odds. So he did also fall a little bit. He was at 11 to 1. And now he's at 16 to 1. Reason for that, just uncertainty with Ipswich right now. He has 1 goal in 4 matches. Also, to be fair, there are a few guys who are, yes, it's 1 versus 4, but 4 times ahead of him if you're going to play that formality game. Yes, it's a long season, but that does make a difference. I mean, right now, maybe it doesn't sound like much. 4 goals versus 1 goal. That's a gap of 3. Scoring 3 goals is not easy to do. There's no question the ability is there. He's in his prime, 26 years old. I think Ipswich will grow in confidence as the season moves on. I mean, if you look at their team is still really, really good. They just haven't put it all together yet. They're really solid at the back. They brought in veteran presence with Ashley Young. He can deliver really good set pieces, which can benefit Hurst. They've got some really good wingers. They've got Philogene on the left. They kept this guy right here. He'll definitely help put in good services. But I think also it's just another wait and see in this scenario for a couple reasons. Akpom was a wait and see just because he's played less than a half of championship football since he returned. But Hurst, honestly, is just a wait and see because you don't know what type of formation they're going to run. You don't know if he's going to split time with Akpom. You don't know if Akpom is going to come in and overtake him. I mean, it's highly unlikely. He is still sitting near the top, so that does say that they do see an avenue for him to push back up to where he was at the start of the season. But me personally, I would just hold off right now. Now it's time to have some fun. We get into the fun boys, the non-parachute, the small teams, quote unquote. And we are starting with nothing but a small team, so disregard everything I just said, but you did at least get to see my cat. Birmingham City, we've got 2 players in the top 4, the last 4 players that we're going to talk about in this video today. I think you can guess. If you can't guess, you're a bot, kid. Kyogo Furuhashi. And I do apologize because we did have to kind of bounce around just because there were players from the same teams that were like 1 or 2 places away from each other. So he has the 5th best odds just behind George Hurst. And then the final 3 players we'll talk about have better odds than these 2. So Kyogo's at 20-1. At the start of the season, I believe he was at 17-1. So just a slight regression. Let's investigate and let's see why. I think it's fair to say that we were all shitting our pants when we watched that Ipswich versus Birmingham City game at the start of the season because we thought coming in Ipswich was this big giant and we didn't know what to expect from Birmingham, and they just went out and dominated, and they got really unlucky to not get the 3 points because of a dodgy penalty. I mean, you can't really argue handball, but obviously football fans are gonna football fan. One of the best SPL strikers of all time. He fell out of favor when he went to Rennes. He left the club last winter. Then he found his way to Birmingham City, coming in to be the striker. There's no question about that. He's started all 4 matches up top. Let's see minutes wise, what is he looking like? Even playing the Carabao Cups, gotta respect it. 77 minutes against Ipswich Town, 89, 61, and 77. That is the sign of someone that can win the Golden Boot. You want to see that. That is the first one that I'm looking at, and I'm like, okay, he has solidified playing time, and that's not going to change. That is definitely something that would give me the confidence to put money on this. And it's kind of funny I'm saying that because he has 0 goals. We all saw he scored a dodgy goal that didn't count, little chip over the keeper, and then also in that Birmingham City versus Ipswich Town game, he hit the bar, which then led to the Jay Stansfield tap-in. Very easily could have 2 goals. I mean, Birmingham City, a little bit of a stalwart in the last couple games compared to what I guess we sort of expected after that first round draw with Ipswich, but there's going to be growing pains in this type of, fairy tale Cinderella story, if you want to call it that. Their manager doesn't have that crazy amount of experience. They only know how to play one way, but they aren't going to play teams of Leicester City quality every week. They already got Ipswich out of the way. They already got Leicester out of the way. They're going to have some easier fixtures coming up, and I think this is when Kyogo is going to start to eat. I said in the last video, Kyogo, Haji Wright, and Tyrese Campbell were my 3 favorites. Tyrese Campbell, maybe, that's not looking too good right now with them sitting on 0 points, but I would still put money on Kyogo right now at 20-1. I mean, yes, there is another mouth in Jay Stansfield to feed. There is Marvin Dukes there as well, but it doesn't seem like he's grown into a full-time role. You've also got to worry about Jay Stansfield, the person that also is going to be next on the list if you couldn't guess it. So he has 3 starts in 3 matches, and he has 2 goals, 1 from the penalty spot, and he had that tap in the first game. So odds-wise, he's coming in now at 14-1. He was 10-1. He was the joint leader at the start of the year. So he just regressed a tiny bit, but like I said with Kyogo, it's a similar explanation here. They've proven that they're going to be able to feed both mouths. Yes, it technically hasn't come to fruition yet, but just watching them play, giving an eye test, both of these guys can get double-digit goals. If I had to choose between the 2, I would just go track record. Career-wise, I'd go with Kyogo. It's got better value as well over Stansfield. Now we are into the top 2. This is my favorite part of the video because why? There's 2 Americans. If you can't guess who it is, it's Haji Wright and Josh Sargent. Take a second to guess who you think is the #1 favorite for the Golden Boot. 3, 2, 1. Josh Sargent. So the cat's out of the bag. Josh Sargent is the favorite to win the Golden Boot this season. But do not sleep on Haji Wright. Haji Wright is at 8-1 to win the Golden Boot. He started the season at 17-1. He has dropped down by more than double his odds, so you're really losing a lot of value on your payout, but it makes sense because of the hot start that he and Coventry City have been off to. He's got 4 goals in 4 matches. He only started 3 of them. He could have had 2 goals against Oxford. He hit the bar in the 90th minute. That was disappointing, but Haji Wright is going to be on the pens. I did fail to mention who was going to be on the pens for the other clubs, but in the Kyogo and Jay Stansfield dilemma between the two, it looks like Stansfield's going to be the guy for the penalties just because, you know, he's been on the team longer. Even though he is younger than Kyogo, that's who they're sticking with. Haji Wright is undoubtedly the guy for the pens. He had a lot of injury concerns going into the season. I think that's what kept his odds kind of low, but clearly they didn't waste any time shooting him up after he and the team got off to a quick start. So that's Haji Wright, second best at 8-1. And then we will go over to his American counterpart, who is currently on international duty with the USA. It's Josh Sargent. Josh Sargent is off to an unreal start, 4-1 to win the Golden Boot. He wasn't even on the list. I'll show you guys the list right now as we talk through Josh Sargent. Ta-da! There it is. So, Haji Wright 8-1, Josh Sargent 4-1. Josh Sargent is looking unconscious this season. 5 goals in the first 4 matches. Also, the players around him are not necessarily performing to the levels that they expected. My long shot to win the Golden Boot was Matthias Kvisgarten at 40-1. Back when I thought that Josh Sargent was headed to Wolfsburg, that fell through. Don't think he wanted to go back to Germany, and he is proving his worth right now. You just gotta hope that he stays healthy. Would I bet it at 4-1? I don't think I would. I would bet Haji Wright at 8-1, but 4-1 this early into the season is just absolutely ridiculous because, you know, Sargent, as much as you don't want to say, he's probably a shoe-in to miss a couple games this year. You don't wish for injuries on anyone, but it is just very possible. Haji Wright also has injury history. Still 8-1, still good value. As the season goes, those numbers are going to shrink and shrink and shrink. Someone on this list you will not get a better odd for the entire year. It's just, question is, who is it? Is it someone in the top 9 that we talked about today? I'm not sure. If I were to put money on it, I'm sticking with who I said. I think that it's going to be Haji Wright. I think that Coventry City's offense is just so good, so versatile right now. They're going to draw a lot of penalties. They're going to get a lot of balls in the box in dangerous XG, high XG areas for him to finish it off. So that position is his. There's no threats. He's the guy there, as is Sargent. Maybe you see a couple other players start to get into form and he slows down a little bit, but I really honestly don't see that. So Mr. Sargent, I do hope that you can stay healthy. I hope that you have a successful international break with the U.S. men's national team. And now we'll just quickly look at the actual top scorers because clearly that's actually what matters. Mr. Victor Torp, the central midfielder, is in there. He is a very high overperformer to his XG. He'll definitely fall off, even though I don't want him to, just because, you know, not because he's not going to play good, but because he's a central midfielder. He's been scoring absolute bangers. Victor Torp only scores bangers. Haji Wright up there as well. Carlton Morris, I think that is who I'm going to come out here and say is going to be my long shot for this video. So Carlton Morris came in from Luton Town. He scored a couple penalties. He's had a couple nice finishes inside the box. Derby County made a ton of signings, so they strengthened around him. He plays a lot of minutes, and that might even be an understatement. He's played every minute, and now I feel like it would be criminal to not say where he is on this list. Carlton Morris is down at 66-1. What did I say? That is literally the graveyard for people who they have no idea about. Maybe we need to keep an eye. Look at that. 66-1. Marvin Dukes, Isaac Price, he already has 3 goals. Mil Reese, he has a couple goals this season. Carlton Morris. So, guys, maybe we got to be looking down at the 66-1. If you gave me 10 pounds, $10, you said put it on someone, and you want to make the best return on your investment possible, I'll put it on him. Is he gonna win it? No, but at the end of the day, it's $10. And like I said, for the finale, if you gave me, you know, a significant amount of money and you said put it on who you think is gonna win, maybe it's my bias. You could probably tell where I'm from based on the way I sound. It's gonna be Haji Wright. So that is the end of this video. We will check back in a month. But if you made it to the end, thanks a lot. Again, please let me know down below what you agree with, what you disagree with. I'm sure every fan is gonna agree with everything I said. Go down there and tell me how great this video was. Nah, I'm just joking. Anyways, thanks a lot if you made it to the end. We are going to be testing British food. That'll be out later this week. And peace.